Good to see everybody's coming on board. Great. Give it a few minutes here.
Hello.
Hey, Sonia. You always look so comfortable.
It's because I'm in bed.
Well, okay. I mean, that's where Ray always seems to be, but
I know.
I don't think I could function that way. I think I would just fall asleep. It probably wouldn't be very good for anybody.
I hope to fall asleep soon.
Well, generally math will do that to just most people, but it's a great cure for insomnia. Hey, Kella.
Hello, hello.
Are you in bed too?
Oh, I'm in my living room.
Oh. Oh.
Hey, Madeline. Nice basement.
Hello.
I saw the adjustment period there while you were adjusting the camera. So I was like, oh, okay, back in the basement. No,
Yeah.
You said you're always in the basement, though.
I had my chair and I was grabbing my notebook and my chair was at my other desk, so.
Yeah.
Getting everything.
Gotcha. All right, let's see here. Ray's coming in now.
The only quiet place is down here.
Trust me, I know. I've tried to do my recordings at my main spot, and I can't seem to do it that way. The dogs are always getting in my recordings, and that doesn't make me a happy camper. So I took to recording in the basement this last weekend. It was a little bit nicer, but colder.
Yeah.
My basement looks like your basement. It's unfinished.
Unfinished, yeah. It's insulated, but it doesn't have a roof or actual walls.
Yeah, exactly. I have insulation too, but I think it just covers the cement, which then radiates the cold or something. So, All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Don't forget to post into the discussion for the attendance for this week. So anytime you do it is fine. Remember, it doesn't matter if you're at this Q&A or not. If you are, great, but you still got to post. Sort of our record between both of us that you were here, and I can say I have some sort of record that you were here. So it keeps us both safe on everything there. So I noticed there were 10 people last week. I thought we had more than that. So if you haven't done it, last week is still open for the moment anyway. I'll probably leave it on at least till the end of today, and then I'll probably close that out. So if you haven't had a chance to post in there, please do so, because again, that's your attendance for the class. We're just doing it weekly now. All right.
Discussions.
Yes, in the discussions, all I gotta do is post something, Kella. Doesn't mean post anything you want to. Just say here, I was there. Hi, whatever you want to say. Anything will work. That is your attendance. Try to keep it clean. Okay, so Ray, are you talking? Or are you talking to us? You're muted, dear.
Oh yeah, I was trying to talk. No wonder I was muted.
Okay, there you go. All right.
I know, first time out of bed in like 3 weeks now.
We were just talking about it. Sonia's in bed, and I said Ray usually is, and then now you're not in bed today. All right, I see how it works.
I know. I just woke up from a nap. I ate so much peanut brittle, I fell into a sugar coma. So I'm up now.
Peanuts brittle.
So are we supposed to post for the lab too in the discussion?
No, you don't have to. Just one post works for both lab and regular class if you're in the lab. So.
Okay, are we still meeting for lab? Because I forgot. I haven't met for lab since it started.
Yes, we met Wednesday, and not much happened. And we'll be meeting again tonight.
We
So
were talking about dirty diapers.
I will not be able to attend the extra class. I got to be to work at 3:16 in the morning.
hey, that's okay, Kel. I mean, it's there if you need it, if you want to use it or you can use it, whatever it may be. All right. And if you can't, you can't. I get it. So you still get credit for being lab, even though you weren't necessarily there. So. All right, so let's talk about questions that you may have had. Hopefully you've had a chance to watch some of the videos, whether it be from this week's stuff or last week's stuff or something. So this week's stuff is posted. I think I got it posted last night, like 6 or 7, something like that. I think maybe 8. I don't know. Somewhere after that, I got it posted. So it should be up there. And if you haven't had a chance to watch that one, that's okay. Just try to, at some point, stay current with what's there. I mean, that's probably why we have these Q&As, is so that I can answer questions in theory of stuff that maybe wasn't very clear, or you just want to see something else on, or it's a homework question, whatever it may be. I mean, certainly we have our lab for those of you in the lab. But if you're not in the lab, this period's for too. So those of you who have any questions whatsoever. So what questions do you have? Do you have any questions? Anything from 8.1 or 8.2, or that's the only things we got so far right now, but 8.1 and 8.2.
Can we check 23 from the homework?
From which 8.2? Okay. That sounds like Aaron. Is that Aaron?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Which
All
one
right.
are you doing it from?
What
This is-
page?
This is 8.2. Right. 8.2, number 23, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Page
Fine.
406.
406. Okay, so it says in exercises 24 and 23 and 24, you were given an annual interest rate and the compound period for 2 investments. Decide which is the better investment. Okay, sounds good. So they don't really, do they give us any money or anything? No, they don't. Doesn't really matter. We can use $1 or $2 or $1 will work. That's fine. Let me bring up the whiteboard here. Okay, nobody's waiting to come in. All right, perfect. Whiteboard. All right, so whiteboard should be up. Okay, so in 23, so this is 8.2, number 23, that's the question. We have 2 investments, right? One investment, let's just call it investment 1 here, for lack of a better term. It has 5% is the interest rate, so the R is going to be 0.05. And then it says compounded yearly, so the N is going to be 1 compound per year. Then over here we've got investment number 2, and this one it says 4.95%, so the rate is going to be 0.0495, and it is for quarterly, so the N is going to be 4, as in 4 times per year, right? And so it just says decide which one's better. Well, it doesn't give us an amount of money, so we just kind of make up our own amount of money that'll work for us here. And same with the, let's see, it doesn't say how much time is involved here either. It just says decide which is a better investment. All right. Well, we can do it for a couple of years and soon go that way, I guess, since they didn't give us very many specifics here. But for this one, let's just say the principal is $1. So we'll see which one gets better just on that. And let's go our time period. Let's do it for 1 year. And just go straight up that way. I think it'll be best to do that. All right, so our equation, right, is A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the Tn. I think that's the equation we had, right? All this stuff started bleeding together these days. All right, good. I feel like this is it. Okay, so for investment number 1 here, the A is going to equal, we have $1. We have 1 plus, we have 0.05 divided by 1 to the power of basically 1 times 1. All right, we'll come back to that one in just a second. Over here, let's get this one set up. A is equal to, again, 1 times 1 plus 0.0495 divided by 4 to the power of 1 times 4. All right, everybody with me so far, how I'm setting this up? You want to put in there's only so many things we have, right? There's P, it's the principal, what we're starting with. They didn't give it to us, so we just said, let's make it $1. R is the interest rate, that's a decimal. In your last exam, a lot of you, if you messed something up, it was this part right here. It was not putting it as a decimal. You can't put 4.95 down. You can't put other things. It's got to be as a decimal, all right? And in our case, it's the number of compounds in 1 year. How many times is it going to compound? They'll tell you it's quarterly, it's monthly, it's whatever it may be. That's going to be our number that goes there. T is time in years. Okay, so if it's not an even number of time in years, we have to account for that. So if it was like 6 months, we want to say 6 out of 12 would be our time, not 6 or 12. And then again, and same number n here. So it's just the setup is to start with. All right, now when I do my calculator, I'll see if I can share my screen so my calculator will come up for you. It may or may not. But when I do my calculator, I always start with the decimal or the r over n value first. And then I kind of calculate inside this parenthesis next, then get the power, then multiply on the outside there. All right, somebody needs to mute. I don't know who. I'll mute you all if I have to. Somebody is, it's starting to bug me. All right, let me see if I can show my calculator here. Let's see here if I can, let's see, where's my screen share here? Let's see, new share. Let's see here. Screen number 2. Screen 2. All right, let me share that. And then let's bring in our calculator. All right. Is everybody seeing my calculator now in giant, bold stuff? Yep. All right, so let's calculate the easy one first. Let's clear off this value here. So it was 0.05, 5%, divided by 1, even though I know it's 0.05. Then we add the 1. You get that. And then we take it to the power of, in this case, it was 1 again. And then we multiply it times 1 because our outside was $1, and it was basically saying you get $1.05. All right, well that's an answer. The other one, we start with 0.0495. We divide that by 4, so we get that. Then we add 1, so we have that. Then we take it to the power of, in our case, the power was 4, and then we multiplied it by $1 again. All right, so we had purely on the one, we had 1.05, and in this one we have 1.0504. So technically speaking, the more compounds gives you more money, although in reality that wouldn't be the case because they both give you the same. Even though there's some extra parts after our 0.5, it's nothing that would cause this 5 to go up. So as far as the bank's concerned, they're giving us $1.05 either way. So they're really roughly the same. In this case. Now, the more years you had it, then what it tells us is because of this 0.04 here, that we get more money out of the second investment of the compounding 4 times a year over more time. So give me more time, and this one will give us more money. But at least 1 year out, they're the same. That's the way I would read that. Aaron, does that work for you? It was your question.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of? What do you mean kind of?
Well, it's because I did it all like, I don't know. I guess it does make sense.
Well, thanks, Aaron. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if we could use our own numbers or what the case was there.
Yeah, a lot of times, if they don't give you full-on numbers, then you kind of just have to put in some other details. Now, as far as the test goes, would I ever do that to you? No, I would never do that to you. I'm going to give you the full set of numbers. I'm going to tell you the R. I'm going to tell you the N. I'm going to tell you the T. I'm going to tell you what you start with. I want to know what the end is. So,
but we'll just end up with a bunch of crazy numbers, right?
Probably. And you'll know. That's how you know you're doing it right. If you get an answer like 7, you can say, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to get an answer like 7. I must be doing it wrong. All right, what other questions do we have? Let's finish this one off since it's still on screen. We had the $1.05 here. And basically $1.05 here, but we'll put in the 0.4 as well.
So just to clarify, I'm dividing 0.0495 or 4 into that, then adding 1.
Yes.
And then it'll be to the second power, or what am I doing after that?
Well, it'd be to the 4th power, as in 4 times 1.
Or the 4th power. Okay. Got it. I didn't see that part.
Yes, 1 times 4. It's the TN power, if you will. Always the
Okay.
time. So basically, another way to think of TN is the total number of compounds that are going to happen over the time period. So, if you were going to compound 4 times over 10 years, that's a total of 40, which is 10 times 4, if you think about that. So 40 times that you're just going to do the money thing. So some people like to think of TN as total number of compounds, but really it's time times the number of compounds. It's basically the
Got
same
it.
thing. And that's where the compound interest really comes into play. It's not necessarily the interest itself or this number here, because when you take 0.0495 and you divide it by 4, obviously it gets a lot smaller. But it's right here. It's that power. It's that exponent that goes on to the formula that really gives you that power of compound interest. That's where it really starts to grow immensely.
So if it wasn't 1 and it was 2, so then I would just do 2 times 4, and then
Yeah.
is that right? Okay.
If it was 2 years instead of 1 year, that's the only difference. Is it would be 2 times 4. You'd have 8 as your power versus 4 as your power.
Got it. Okay.
Because remember, you know what a compound is, right? A compound is when they pay you, whenever it is, the bank or whatever, they whatever time period they're going to give you money, and that interest money goes in your account, and then the next time they do it, your principal has technically grown in that small period because of the interest they gave you the last time. So it's like your interest gains interest itself.
Okay.
What other questions do we have?
I'd say 41.
You're just full of questions, Aaron.
For 8.1 or 8.2?
8.2.
All right, 8.2.
41.
Let's clear this off. All right, let's see what we got here. So this is 8.2, number 41. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, so this question says, you plan to take a trip to the Grand Canyon in 4 years. You want to buy a certificate of deposit for $1,200 that you will cash in for your trip. What annual interest rate must you obtain on the certificate if you need $1,400 for your trip? All right. Now, one of the things they didn't do in this problem, they didn't give us the number of compounds, did they? Let's see. You plan to take a trip. You want to buy a certificate, cash in your trip. What annual interest rate must you obtain a certificate if you need $14 for your trip? So I guess we're going to assume that the N is going to be 1 in this case to keep it easy. And that's usually what they try to do with something. Because I wish they would tell us that, though. It's one of those things where obviously on a test, they don't do that. I give you everything. I'm not going to leave anything to chance. But here, without giving us information, what we can always assume is if they don't give it to you, kind of just assume it's 1.
I
All
thought
right,
the
so
number was 4 years because it says 4 years. Why is that not the number?
that's the time. Remember, there's all these elements in here, right? There's the A value. In this case, they tell us what we're supposed to have. They said we're supposed to buy.
So you mean like the number, like for the rate, you mean?
Well, let's start talking about it, right? So A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the Tn. All right, so what have they given us? Well, they've told us that we're trying to get $1,400, so that's the A value. Sorry, it looks like somebody's trying to get in here. Somebody's chatting. Okay. So $14 is the A value. The P value is what we're starting with, right? It says we start with $1,200 in this case. The interest rate, that's the unknown piece. That's what they're asking us to find. The N value, again, they didn't give it the N value. How many times is it going to compound in 1 year, the certificate of deposit? They didn't say specifically. So we're going to just say it's 1. That's usually what we do if we can't figure out something here. We just say it's 1. I wish they would say that specifically. They just don't. They just assume, I guess, we're going to make it 1. And then finally you have the time, which is what you were referring to, I think, Ray, which is 4 years. So, when you do these problems, because really, here's the great thing about Chapter 8. There's only a handful of equations that you have to use. So at some point, make yourself a cheat sheet somewhere of the equations. This being one of them, one of the biggies right here. A equals P times. And as I said in the videos, if you haven't watched them yet, don't use the equation in the book. It's basically the same as this, except that instead of doing R divided by N, they call it like M or something, which is really stupid. And M is R divided by N. So just put it all in once. Your calculator is going to do the brunt work for you anyway. So you might as well have it so you can lay it out and talk about specific pieces. And then when you're given a problem, you start filling in the details because there's only one thing they can't ask you, and that's what everything else they're going to give you, or I'm going to give you, depending on who's giving the problem. So lay out everything that you know, right? What's the A, what's the P, everything else, and then you can just lay it in and calculate. So here we go. 1,400 is our A value. Our P value is 1,200. 1 is 1. The R is the unknown piece. The N we're assuming is 1 because they didn't tell us what the N was. And then the T was 4, but then the other N, same N that we had underneath the R, is 1 again. So that N shows up twice. That's the only one that shows up twice. Everything else is only in there one other time. All right, so we could rewrite this slightly so it looks a little bit nicer, as in 1,200, 1 plus R, right? Because R divided by 1 is still just R, and 4 times 1 is just 4. So it looks a little bit nicer that way. All right, so once we've got it there, the next step is to divide both sides by 1,200. We have to get this thing that has the exponent by itself. We can't add it. We can't subtract it. We have to divide it. Now, 1,400 divided by 12 is roughly the same as 14 divided by 12. And if you think about 14 and 12, they both share a common factor of 2. So basically, it's the same as saying 7 over 6. We could say a decimal, but we'll just keep it this way. It looks nicer till we get to the end anyway. All right, so 7 over 6 is equal to 1 plus R to the 4th power. For us to get this R out of this parenthesis that has a 4th power, we have to take the 4th root, or it looks like a square root, put to the 4th power. Now, we don't have a button on our calculator. It was, you iPhone users do, but on our calculator I've been using on our screen, we don't have that. So what we want to say is that this 7/6 to the 4th root is the same as saying 7/6 to the 1/4 power. This is how we're going to be able to put it in our calculator with ease. On this side, we have just 1 plus R, because the 4 here and the 4 here cancel each other out. So then the last step to solve for R is we're going to have to take this 7/6 to the 1/4 power and subtract 1. So this 1 comes from the right to the left. It means -1, which is where our interest rate is going to come in. And that's it. That's how we're going to find our interest rate. So let me switch over to the calculator so everybody can see that. All right, so we had 7/6. Let me clear this off here. Nice clean palette here. All right, so parenthesis, because I'm going to take this to a power. So I'm going to take 7 divided by 6 and end my parenthesis, because that's what 1,400 divided by 1,200 was, essentially, broken down. That power is to the 1/4 power. So I can say 1 divided by 4. I'm going to hit enter at this point to get my answer, and then I can say -1. Now, that's the decimal equivalent, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you've watched the videos, they want the actual rate. What's the interest rate? This is the rate as a decimal. But if we want to give them the actual rate, what we can do is take one more step here and say times 100, because then this is going to be the actual interest rate, which in our case is 3.929 is the way I would round that. So 3.929. So let me reshare the whiteboard here. So we'll come back over here where our interest is at, and we said 3.929%. That's how we'd write that. So there's nothing wrong with the decimal, but a lot of times they don't want the decimal answer. They don't want you to say 0.03929. They want the percentage. So you want to convert that at the end to say the interest rate should be roughly 3.929. I go 3 decimals. So your book goes less. They may just call it 3.9, or they may call it 3.93, but I always go 3 decimal places. Aaron, that was your question again. How's that work?
We good. Again, it's just the whole making up the number thing that got me.
That's okay. Again, it's a good question, though. And so I think here's your answer, right? If they don't give you something, just assume it's 1 and move on. I don't like that they assume that the N is going to be 1. They could just say that. They could just say it's compounded annually. I mean, first of all, nobody compounds annually, but you know why they do it in this problem? Because it makes the work a little bit easier. Because otherwise we'd have to, have R divided by something, and it complicates it just a little bit more. What other questions do we have?
How do I put a fraction in my iPhone? I don't know how to do that.
The same way you do it anyplace else. Whatever the fraction is, you take 1 divided by the other.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Sweet. Okay.
And you've got parentheses too, so don't be afraid to use parentheses. Parentheses are your friend. Parentheses tell a calculator to calculate this in this order. Otherwise, it defaults to the order of operations, which is in its programming. It still defaults that way, but when you put parentheses in, remember, what's the first thing in order of operations? P for parentheses. So you can always force the action by having that parenthesis. So whether you're using the calculator that you can download and I have on my screen, or you use your iPhone or your Android or your other calculator, whatever calculator may be, they all have parentheses on them somewhere. And as long as you follow the order to calculate in, it will always work.
Got it.
So even for some of these heavier equations, I just did the videos yesterday for 8.4, and it's only got 3 examples, and it's got one massive equation to use. But as long as you set it up and you calculate in the right order, it will always work. So it's pretty cool. You don't even have to have a lot of intermediate steps. Like, you don't even have to write things down. You can just get it written down so you know what everything's going to be, and then stick it in your calculator and a series of steps and be done. Other questions?
So I just want to clarify, we do meet on Zoom Monday and Wednesdays? Or
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I thought it was one was the meeting and the other time was just watching YouTube videos. That's why I wasn't here last Wednesday. I thought I was just supposed to be watching videos.
Nope, we have both. I mean, you
Okay.
don't have to be there, Ray. It's a time for you if you need it. If you don't need it, you certainly don't have to show up. But I figure you've paid for the time, so I sort of owe you the time at least a little bit. Whether you choose to use it or not, that's certainly up to you. So
Okay.
we have it. You know, if you go back to look at our schedule that we talked about, we do have the lab every Monday and Wednesday here for the next few weeks until we get done with our videos and whatnot. And then we don't have lab anymore. If we were doing, last 2 classes are reserved for presentations for anybody that's going to do that. I know Liz is doing one for sure. That's so far the only person I know of that's contacted me or let me know they're doing it. And obviously we wouldn't have lab those nights. It's just not worth it. And the same with the night of the test. I want to keep you working on that test and give you that much time. So, but generally speaking, we'll have labs for the next couple of weeks anyway.
We only have one more exam, correct?
That is correct, Madeline.
And it's not cumulative, right? It's just on the set chapters.
That
right?
is correct, Ray. It is not cumulative. It is only on chapter 8. Because I hate cumulative tests, and thankfully they don't force me to give one here.
Oh, especially with math. Like as soon as it's done, it's done.
Unfortunately, for my algebra class, I'm forced to give them a cumulative exam. So they are so looking forward to it. And as I tried to argue with that class, I said, hey, this covers an entire semester of algebra, right? Yeah. Well, we got snowed out one Friday night. We got, extended spring break. So I know everybody did it, but that's another week. And then, we actually had a Friday night class right after they pretty much said that we were going to close. So you know how many people were in my Friday night class that week? Half.
Yeah.
So I said, we've pretty much missed 3 weeks. And you're going to test my class over an entire semesters of algebra when they haven't had an entire semester's worth of algebra.
Yeah, pandemic's crazy.
I know. You figure they got to make some exceptions to things, but apparently we're not proceeding that way in the college area. So I know some other professors are, I think professors who teach full time, some of them think now it's their job to give you 16 assignments per day.
Oh yeah, I have one of my other classes has a lot of work, and I'm like, I'm working and I have other classes, and no.
I know. I don't understand.
Not
Like I said, I
helping.
think if it's your full-time job, you feel like, well, if I'm not working 8 hours a day, and by working, I mean assigning stuff to students to do on their own, I must not be earning my money. So I don't know. But Madeline, you're still slinging it at the target?
Oh yeah, they approved overtime so we can work up to 50 hours. So I've worked a couple 12-hour shifts, taking 2 lunches a shift, and
Oh wow.
they're doing overnights now. So there's some people who are going to be working 6 a.m. to whatever.
Just like stocking shelves and cleaning and stuff, or?
Yeah, stocking shelves. Our trucks are coming earlier in the morning or coming really, really late so that we can get them all unloaded.
And
and
how,
stuff for
and,
everyone's.
and how are your supplies there? If anybody's looking for supplies.
I know.
We're doing okay. Target on Quincy on Hamden. We've been getting like toilet paper and like Lysol wipes, and they've been staying on the shelves till the afternoon. So
That's good. Okay. So if anybody's looking for those things,
Girl, can you text me please and tell me, because my kids are running low on wipes too. So I don't know.
we get our trucks consistently every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday in the morning at like 6 a.m. But it takes a couple hours to get them unloaded. But we are limiting it to 1 per guest, and then baby wipes are like 4 packages per guest.
Yes, not customer. Look at you being all professional on Zoom.
Yes,
Hard.
we get in trouble. We get in trouble. I said customer my first couple weeks, and my shift lead, she'd look at me and be like, "They're what? What are they?" I'm like, I mean guests.
Yes.
That's what I said. I didn't say. So yeah, Target, it's guests, not customers.
Yes,
I
Target.
drilled it into
I
my
love
brain
to
now.
hear that.
So you said on Quincy and Hampton? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Quincy and Hamden. Yeah, I think it's Hamden.
yes.
Girl, I've been everywhere this past
It's next to
weekend.
the Lowe's, and there's like a what is it? Across the street, there's like a
Oh,
McDonald's.
it's Quincy and Buckley.
Quincy and Buckley, yeah, that one.
Yes, there you are. Quincy and Buckley.
I just know Quincy. It's the Aurora Southeast.
All right.
All right. So yes, you need something Quincy and Buckley. All right.
Yes.
All right. We have 8.5 minutes left. So other questions?
Can you resend me the video I point to? I haven't got any email from you.
Okay, I'm not sending videos to anybody. They're posted on my YouTube channel.
There's a link, I think, posted for the YouTube channel, and then they're all uploaded on there.
Thank you, Madeline. Yes, just look for MAT120. There's a filter typically you can apply. You can just put in 120 and all the 121s will be there. I do have a 121 too, so not every video you see on there is for our class. There's some for the other class that I teach, but look for 120. It should be in the description. There's a part of it somehow.
Oh, can you do example 8
In
and
what's-
8.2 for page 404?
I mean, we can. It was roughly the same question as we just did. It's just a slightly different numbers.
Thanks.
It's because they're different numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. That's fair enough, I guess. But let's not pick example 8. You have a video for that. Let's pick something else, maybe a little more interesting. Let's see. Total payment be. The person is accused of crime. Sorry, I'm just trying to find one real fast here. Okay, how about number 44 on page 407? Looks like there's an interest in here. If a person is accused of a crime, does not have sufficient resources, he may have a bail bondsman post bail to be released until a trial is held. Assume that a bondsman charges a $50 fee plus 8% of the amount of the bail. If a bondsman posts $20,000 for a trial that takes place in 2 months, what is the interest rate being charged by the bondsman? Treat the $50 fee plus the 8% on $20,000. All right, that's kind of stupid. All right, we'll make up our own. All right, so there we go. Let's see here. All right, so let's pretend the A value is $25. The P value is $10. The interest rate is the unknown part. The N value, we'll just say is 1 again to keep it easy. And then the time will be for 3 years. All right, nice and relatively easy here. All right, so let's set it up. 25 is the A. P is 10. 1 plus R over 1. And then 3 times 1. All right, so we can make it look a little bit nicer. It's going to be 25 is equal to 10 times 1 plus r to the power of 3. First thing we do is we divide both sides by 10. Because, again, you want the thing with the power by itself. You want to isolate it. 25 and 5 share a common factor of 5. So that's going to be 5 over 2, otherwise known as 2.5. Just makes it a little bit easier to have it reduced. Then we're going to take the cubic root of both sides because we got a 3 power here. We need to get rid of that 3 power. The only way to get rid of a 3 power is a 3 root. But you can't just do it to one side. You've got to do it to both sides. Now remember, third root is the same as 1/3. Anytime you see a root here, it's equivalent to the fractional power. So 5 halves to the power of 1/3. And 1 plus r here. And then we have to take this 1 and move it to the left. So our r value is going to be the 1/3 root of 5, or 1/3 power of 5 halves minus 1 equal to r there. And so that's what you want. Take your calculator, you say 5 divided by 2, get that answer, then say to the power of 1/3. And then when you have that minus 1, and then we can also say times 100 to get us to our actual interest rate as a percentage here. So let's go ahead and bring our calculator up on the other screen real fast. Let's see here. 2. All right, let's clear this off here. So we had 5 halves. So I like to use a parenthesis on that and just say 5 divided by 2, end parenthesis. If I could do that, it's going to say 2.5. Then I can raise it to the power. That power was 1 divided by 3. Enter. And then we can say minus 1. And then finally we can say times 100 to get us a nice percentage answer, which is, this one's pretty high, 35.721%. So back over here, we get to go 35.721%. So a fairly high interest rate to turn $10 into $25 in 3 years, as it should be. Typically, our interest rates are a little bit lower than 35%. That sounds like something one of my relatives might charge you for loaning you money. Probably a little higher than that. But. So there's another example. So that's what you're, anytime looking for interest rate, you're going to have to take a root, really a fractional power to get to the answer. Sonia, that was your question. I think, Madeline, you backed that one up, right? So how do you guys feel about that one?
It's just something you have to keep practicing for it to stick, for me anyways.
It's true.
I know sometimes the answers, like, I didn't know you can multiply by 100 and make it the more accurate number. And so I was like, I'd see that answer where it's just a decimal and really tiny and think that I'm wrong.
Well, you're not wrong. It's just, it's just in the, they want the percentage form, right? Because if you give it the decimal, that's the raw mathematical form that we use. But when they want the answer, they want the percentage answer. The same thing as we just need to move that decimal point 2 places over, or multiply by 100, whatever is easier.
Would you do that every time you looking for the rate?
Yes. Because if you say the rate is 0.35721, let's say, right? Again, as a raw form, that's good, but they want the percentage answer. When they're asking for an interest rate, they don't care about the decimal part of it. I mean, there's a decimal part here, 0.721, but what they care about is the percent part, Aaron. So they really want to see that 35.721 as a percent. All right, we're down to 1 minute left. Other questions you want to talk about today?
I'm good.
All right, keep watching the videos. Watch them again and again if you have to. Don't be afraid to like them. I don't know what I do with a like, but I just know nobody's liking them. So you don't have to like them. But if you don't get it the first time, watch it again. And then do a problem at the same time. Pause it as you're going through it. Start it when it does a step, pause it, you do the step, right? That never hurts.
So we're meeting at 8:30 for lab?
But yes, 8:30 for lab.
Okay.
So we'll do more questions and more fun then. And don't forget to post. Remember, if you're on here, post anyway. Let me know you were here in class and everything's okay, and that's how I'll do your attendance. So don't forget to post. All right.
In the discussions, correct?
Yes, in the discussion. So lab people, I'll see you